Hello again. Now, the Democratic Alliance has expressed concern about sexual misconduct in schools and the absence of consequences for the alleged abusers. Out of the 191 cases of sexual misconduct reported to the South African Council of Educators in the 2021-2022 period, only 23 disciplinary proceedings were instituted and only 4 educators were fired. We are joined now by Murwasi Wamunare, who is the ethics manager at the South African Council of Educators, to discuss this situation further. Murwasi, good afternoon. Welcome to today. Thank you very much for your time. 191 cases reported in that year, 2021-2022. Only 23 getting disciplinary proceedings, but only 4 being fired. I mean, that's really very worrying picture of a lack of consequence.
Thank you, Dan. Good afternoon, and good afternoon to the eNCA viewers. Then it is indeed so. The figures are as they stand. However, we cannot talk of lack of consequences. We may want to ask the question, why are the figures as they are? And the answer there too is as follows. Much as a lot of cases get reported to the council, much as a lot of those cases, if not all of them, get investigated, most of them are unable to proceed up to maybe a disciplinary level because they get withdrawn. How do they get withdrawn? We have got a lot of challenges with parents in this regard who do not cooperate with our processes. Some of them do report these cases but end up withdrawing them or just disappearing. Some will ask you to not put their child through trauma. They will give you the stories, but they don't want to come to the hearings. Most of them are victims, and the victims will just disappear. They do not or refuse to cooperate with the processes, although some will at a later stage come and testify in these hearings. So it is indeed so that most of these cases could not go past or up to a disciplinary hearing level because of lack of cooperation by witnesses. It is not so much the unavailability of the perpetrators, it is so much the unavailability of witnesses to support these allegations. So those are some of the challenges that we are facing.
Yeah, Murwasi, shouldn't the victims or those who've been abused and who are pointing fingers at alleged perpetrators, shouldn't they be supported in a way to be more confident and be able to come and testify in these hearings?
We agree with you. We endeavor to do that. We endeavor to explain to them the importance of coming to testify at these hearings. Because, as I said, the importance thereof is, 1, protection of the integrity of the profession, 2, protection of the next child. Because for as long as we have this perpetrator in our schools, we are certain that the next child is not safe at all. So we try to explain those, but as I said, we are aware, and Tate Moyane, that there's a lot of money that ends up exchanging hands in the process. It is something you cannot see. There's a lot of corruption. It's something you cannot see, but it is something that we know of. Hence, these witnesses will disappear. There's exchange. They get bought cell phones, and they no longer cooperate with you after that. So a whole lot of things happen, and we are unable to get to them.
So their silence is bought?
That's the truth. Their silence is bought. But please allow me to say the following. Whilst we say that their silence is bought, whilst we may say that the victims, most of them are well chosen, usually they are the hungry ones. Others will tell you that, or will say to a child, if you go and testify, you must not come back to my house, you must leave with says. And this leaves a child in a predicament. The child ends up not being able to testify because mommy or daddy said, if you go and testify, you must live with those people. Do not come back to my house. So that's when you get to know that there was an exchange of money elsewhere. Some were aware that they are paying certain amounts to these parents because they are hungry then, and they accept that. They are willing to sell their children for very nominal amounts. And this defeats our purposes. Whenever we investigate, we will find evidence, but when you want to proceed, there's no one to support your case.
Yeah,
Some of them are unable to come and testify because they are being threatened by other teachers in schools and they are afraid to speak. Some are being threatened by their colleagues or fellow learners in schools, and they are afraid to come and testify. So it is not a cut and dry. There is no consequence at all. There is a lot that is happening in the background.
A very complex picture indeed. Thank you very much for your time and explanations. Murwasi Wamunare from the South African Council of Educators, just talking to us about the fact that there's so many cases of sexual misconduct that are reported in schools. They do their part to investigate, but there's a lack of cooperation and allegations, of course, of people's of young ones' silence being bought, and there's a lack of that cooperation. So it's a challenging situation indeed, very complex. Thank you very much for your time this hour on Today.